But we begin this hour with President Trump using America's 250th as an opportunity to brag about himself. Yesterday, during his Independence Day salute at the Salute to America celebration on the National Mall, Trump spoke about American history, but made sure to inject partisan politics and tout what he views as his accomplishments.
The American dream is back, very strong, beautiful. We rebuilt our military in my first term. We used it a little bit in our, actually I should say third term, but I won't do that because I don't want any controversy. But we use it, and we've had tremendous success. You look at Venezuela, you look at Iran, we wiped out their military. Our stock market is the strongest it's ever been. We have $19.2 trillion being invested in our country, which is 6 times more than ever happened before.
Yes, I know most of us do not have anything in the stock market, and that's not how we think about our lives. But boasting about the stock market appears to be a familiar pattern for President Trump whenever troubling news on the economy is released, because you think he'd be talking about jobs or something. Case in point, June's job report showed that employers added just 57,000 jobs. That was way below expectations. And while Americans continue to voice their own frustrations about the high cost of living, the stagnant wages, Trump is generating an obscene amount of wealth in his second term. The president's latest financial disclosure revealed that his business ventures raked in more than $2 billion in 2025 alone. Joining us now to get into all this, Sabrina Siddiqui, national politics reporter for the Wall Street Journal, and Tim O'Brien, MS Now political analyst and senior executive editor for Bloomberg Opinion. Thank you both for joining us, especially on a holiday weekend. Sabrina gets extra points for being at the table, Tim. But I want to play something that we heard from Americans talking about their own economic struggles and talk about it on the other side.
I feel like, man, it's a recession, man. I ain't never felt it before. I feel it now. I feel it now.
It's almost like the poor are getting poorer and the rich are getting richer. Everything in America right now is ridiculous. It really is.
Everything is going up. You can barely afford things.
I think, the way people feel about the economy, like it looks good on paper, but people are really struggling.
That was in Miami and Bristol, Rhode Island, so different parts of the country there. Tim, when you hear that from the American people, and then you hear what President Trump said and what he touts as success, the stock market, for example, politically, that dichotomy feels like something that's could come back and bite Republicans in November.
Well, it'll come back and bite them if I think the Democrats and anyone who cares about good government and an ethically run Oval Office continue to make messages built around this, because what's happening is we have evidence through Trump's own financial disclosures that he has monetized the presidency and frankly grifted off of his proximity to the regulatory system and the lawmaking apparatus to vastly enrich himself. Donald Trump is 80 years old. He's been in business for the better part of 60 years. He has never, ever had a single year in which he's made this kind of money. And it's not because he's hardworking, and it's not because he's talented. It's because he's the president of the United States. And most of that gain is driven by crypto holdings, which is a completely speculative asset. A primary reason that his crypto holdings have gained in value is because he's put the regulatory might of the federal government behind it. When he left office in 2020, most of his wealth was concentrated in a handful of urban commercial office buildings that had very steep vacancy rates because of COVID. They had a lot of debt against them. I think he came into his second term intending to release that ball and chain, that financial ball and chain from his ankle, and to make as much money as he possibly could. And that's what he's gone about doing. And what it's a reminder of is that the Constitution and the federal ethical guidelines did not envision a president who wanted to come in and turn the White House into a Walmart. And we simply don't have enforceable, rawly, nonpartisan enforceable guidelines that hold any public official, but certainly someone like Trump, not only to account, but prevent them from grifting.
Yeah, Sabrina, I'm going to stick on the crypto part of what Tim was talking about. Listen to what the Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, had to say on Thursday in defending the president's crypto haul. Watch this.
Something else that I wanted to ask you about, the president's financial disclosure showed that crypto had become a major source of his income while the administration is shaping crypto policy. Even if the White House says there's no conflict of interest, which is what we've heard, is there an appearance problem when so many folks are struggling?
Well, again, I don't think there's an appearance problem. The president, this is an innovation presidency. So whether it's digital assets, whether it's AI, whether it's everything that is going on in the tech ecosystem, that all Americans are benefiting from that.
All Americans,
Sabrina?
Jonathan.
Well, again, I don't think there's an appearance problem. Say what now?
I mean, I think conflicts of interest has always been such a core theme of either Trump presidency, right? In the first Trump presidency, it was much more focused on his real estate holdings and the fact that they were hosting world leaders at the Trump Hotel here in Washington, D.C. Now it's been actually striking to see how much crypto has been such a core part of President Trump's personal finances. And, what I've heard from ethics lawyers is it is unprecedented. And we kind of almost overuse the word unprecedented when we're talking about Trump. But, I think there are lawyers who say or believe that this would be illegal in any other administration. And it's not just a rhetorical matter because he has the power to regulate this industry. And Congress is currently in talks about regulating crypto. Needless to say, Republicans will be influenced by the president, as they always are. And now I think a key part of the debate will be the president and whether or not he can profit off the industry. And then there's just that juxtaposition, if you're coming back to the first clip you played, with Americans who are suffering across this country, who are struggling to pay for day-to-day costs of living. And then you see these disclosures just showing how much the president has profited off this industry and the presidency.
Well, to your point, Sabrina, the Clarity Act is a bill that's sitting in the Senate waiting to be brought to the floor that would put some kind of safeguards there to guard against what the president was able to do. But it's unclear whether this is actually going to get a vote.